right, listeners. Well, welcome to another episode of Dark Dialogue Shadow Chat Sessions. I'm your host, John.
And I'm Angela.
And we just finished recording a serious episode, and it's so nice to jump into these and just laugh and have some fun. And I appreciate all you listeners that listen to them and enjoy them, but honestly, we'd probably do them even if nobody listened, just because they're fun to do.
Well, I mean, we used to just sit around and talk about it, so why not?
Yeah, why not record it and let everybody join the conversation?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, all right, so we're going to jump right into it. We got some news stories. We've got a new segment, which I added. And then we've got our weird shit segment. So
John can't leave well enough alone. He's got to make things better.
Different. I don't know about better or not, but different. But I think it'll be fun.
Almost always better.
I think it.
Am I going to inflate your ego? It's almost always better.
No, there's not much risk of that. But it'll be fun. Anyway, I know that.
Yeah.
So we're ready to jump into the news headlines?
Provided I don't actually have to jump, let's do it.
You actually have to jump in and get the memo?
No.
Damn.
No.
We're going to have to look into that.
No.
We should.
I don't think the ACL in my knee or lack thereof will allow any jumping.
All right, well, let's get started with the news. So the headline is Beef Wellington and Death Cap Mushrooms, tragic accident or recipe for murder in case gripping Australia. So Aaron Patterson, age 50, faces 3 murder charges and 1 attempted murder charge for serving a beef Wellington laced with death cap mushrooms at her Leongatha, Victoria home in July 2023, killing her in-laws, Dawn and Gail Patterson, and Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson. Ian Wilkinson survived after intensive care. The trial, ongoing in Morell's Supreme Court, gripped Australia in May of this year with testimony about Patterson's lies, such as dumping a dehydrator with mushroom residue in it, and a fake cancer claim to lure her guests. She pleads not guilty, claiming that it was an accident. ABC News, BBC, and The Guardian reported with courtroom sketches and mushroom photos. So,
there's a mushroom lineup?
Yeah, there's a mushroom lineup. Yep. So,
Number 2, turn to the side.
The brief is provided by the Washington Post this week, and it says it is the mushroom murder case, and almost everyone down under is talking about it. Quote, "It's fascinating," said David Thorpe, 78, as he waited for a coffee at a Sydney cafe with a mushroom case heavy tabloid under his arm. Quote, "She's not your typical murder suspect. She looks more like a churchgoer." End quote. For the past month, the small town of Morwell, which I think is interesting that it's so close to Morell.
Yeah.
A few hours outside of Melbourne, has been the setting for a courtroom saga.
Or well, when there's deaths.
Where was I?
I don't know.
Has been the setting for a courtroom saga of a mushroom mill most foul. Erin Patterson, 50-year-old mother of 2, faces 3 counts of murder for serving toxic beef Wellington to relatives at her house in the even smaller nearby town of Leongatha on July 29, 2023. Patterson's parents-in-law, Dawn and Gail Patterson, damn, that's as many peas as Peter Piper picked.
A peck of pickled peppers.
Yeah. Anyway, Dale and Gail Patterson died of suspected death cap mushroom poisoning. Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson, also died, while Heather's husband, Ian, survived after spending weeks in the hospital. Patterson's estranged husband, Simon Patterson, was supposed to attend the ill-fated lunch but backed out. Patterson has pleaded not guilty in proceedings expected to conclude early next month. So that's the ugly bitch right there.
Fungi fatality.
So,
For the record, these mushrooms are not in the mushrooms that I take every day.
I would think not, since you're still with us.
Just saying.
So, how can families ensure safety at gatherings after such a case?
I don't know. Go back to the old time when they had who was it? The jester had to test the food first. Let's just go back to that.
I mean,
pick the kid you think will do the least well in school, and I'm kidding. That was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that you can't.
No, you can't.
I mean, hopefully,
yet another reason not to trust people. I didn't need another reason, but
I don't know anything about the family dynamics here at all.
True,
but it sounds like her husband was an estranged husband, so I think he was bailing. And
her last big FU to the family.
Yes, and she had to lure him.
I mean, fatality, of course.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant.
She had to lure him by claiming that she had cancer to get him there. So I don't think they were BFFs or anything. And so I would say if your son, daughter, whatever is divorcing their spouse, don't let that spouse cook for you.
Don't go to a dinner party.
Yeah. That would be all I would have to say.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So what's the weirdest food that you've been served at a dinner?
That's a difficult question for me because I am so weird about things like this and germs that I am not the person to ask that question.
For me,
so tell us about yours.
Liver croquettes, I would say.
Excuse me. What?
I would have to say that liver croquettes were the worst. Now, I will say that as I've gotten older, I've learned to love liver. I eat it several times a week because it's full of vitamins, minerals, and I've become to really like it. But when I was a kid, I hated liver, like most kids. And my grandmother made liver croquettes.
I don't think I've ever had it.
Liver?
Dad hates it.
Well, that's good.
We were never forced. However, if we're talking forced, there was one Christmas that I was held down by family and forced to consume a bite of mincemeat pie because I refused.
It's not really my thing either.
And I will never. Yeah, it was, I guess if I had tried hard enough, but I just wanted it over with. They wouldn't have, it wasn't an abusive thing, but it did feel abusive at the time.
I will say that I eat everything. I'll try everything once, haggis is on my list, and menudo is on my list, and all these things, monkey's brains on my list.
Awesome.
So I'm open to trying anything. So I'm a weirdo. I'm always,
it's keto,
as long as it's keto or paleo. Yeah. But
feed John sugar.
I've tried all kinds of different foods, and for the most part I've liked pretty much everything that I've tried. Really, it's very rare for me to eat something and not like it unless it's sugary dessert crap, and then it's not my thing. So, have you ever thought that someone was trying to poison you?
I immediately wanted to say yes, just because I think everyone's out to get no, legitimately, no. I don't believe anyone's ever actually legitimately tried.
Have you ever felt like they were?
I don't think so. Have I gotten sick and thought somebody did it on purpose? No, because generally it's my own mind that has done it, because I'm just a messed up individual. So no, I don't think anybody's ever actually tried to poison.
I would have to say yes, I have definitely thought it. I never have actually had anybody try to poison me, but when you consume true crime shit like I do, you know that, you know, like going through divorce and stuff like that is prime time to like murder. And so, yeah. And so when I was going through that, or the end of relationships with one particular who was a complete psychopath, the thought definitely crossed my mind. I was not eating anything that she prepared.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I don't think that she would have, but I don't know that she wouldn't have. So
that was probably pretty smart.
Yeah.
Because while they probably wouldn't have attempted to kill you, violently ill might have been on the list.
Yeah, but when you're going through divorce or ending a relationship and there's like life insurance and stuff involved and you are true crime minded anyway, the thought definitely crosses your mind. So yeah.
I gotcha.
Now, I will say 100%, I do not believe that it was occurring, but in the moment,
you thought
I wasn't taking any chances.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have either.
Yep.
I wouldn't have either.
All right, so story number 2. Monster takes abducted woman to remote area off Hastings-Taihape Road and rapes her.
A monster.
Well, this son of a bitch is a monster.
Oh, okay. So I was
It's not
jump to the weird shit section. Is this a cryptid or is this?
No, this is not like the Sully blue monster. This is like the actual legit creep, shit brain, ass hat, worthless bastard kind of monster. So the story is a man whose name is suppressed abducted a woman in Hastings, New Zealand in November of 2023, driving her 60 kilometers to a remote forestry track off the Hastings-Taihape Road where he raped and murdered her. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in May of this year. New Zealand Herald and Stuff reported with photos of the remote track and the courtroom the case.
Legit. That's not a satire paper.
It's legit.
And Herald and Stuff.
It's legit.
Okay.
The case horrified locals due to the calculated brutality. So the source for the brief is the New Zealand Herald
and Stuff.
This is just the New Zealand Herald. So a woman escaped from a terrifying rape ordeal in a remote forestry track after she managed to lock her abductor out of his car.
Okay, hold on. She escaped earlier. You said murdered.
Well, I think he had murdered a woman.
Okay.
And then this second woman was able to escape.
I hadn't made that connection. Okay.
So she managed to lock him out of his car, his own car, and drive away. The man had tricked the woman into getting into the vehicle by saying that he needed her help to get a birthday present for his partner, who was a relative of hers. Now the man has appeared in Napier District Court charged with a raft of offenses against women, his partner, and another woman who was his partner previously. Quote, "You are a monster," a sister of the abducted woman told him in a statement to court, describing the effect that drug addicts' actions had on her family. Quote, "Forever is not long enough time to serve in prison for the pain that you have caused, and I hope you never find peace," she said. The man pleaded guilty to 3 charges of rape, 4 of unlawful sexual connection, along with administering methamphetamine and unlawful detention in respect to the woman that he abducted. So, how can rural areas improve safety for women?
I don't know that they can, especially this person was somebody she knew.
Yes.
You don't ever assume it always is somebody, or almost always is somebody you know, but you don't ever assume somebody you know is going to do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that rural areas really can. I do think that, so it was noted that this area was like outside of cell service. And I do think that we're quickly, very, very quickly coming to a place where cellular technology is going to be a dead technology. Everything's going to be satellite phones. And I think that that's going to go a long ways in improving safety in rural areas, because you will be able to make a phone call in locations where now you're not. But I don't think there's anything that a rural area can do to increase safety. I mean, it's the nature of rural areas, you know? So what is the creepiest road trip story that you've heard?
I can't think of one.
No?
No.
So,
I mean, besides the one I told you guys about my son seeing Bigfoot or thinking he saw Bigfoot.
well, when I say the one I'm thinking of, you will immediately agree. But, so we have a local true crime case that's going on right now where a young lady was traveling with her, I guess, boyfriend, fiance, husband, common law. I don't know exactly what the relationship was. I think you know more about the case.
He called her his fiance.
And he almost certainly killed her along the way somewhere. And I would say that one rates up there.
That one does. I don't think of that, because when I think road trip, I think like intended to be fun type things, and that didn't, because I don't think any part of that was intended to be fun.
I don't either. No. But there's a couple stories. There was a one in Colorado, Boulder, Colorado, actually, where a guy murdered his girlfriend, likely in Boulder before they even left, and then took their child, which I think was a little girl, if I remember correctly, and drove to see his family in like Alabama or some shit like that, and then disposed of her body parts on the way home. And luckily investigators were able to capture him on a surveillance video throwing a garbage bag into a dumpster, and so they called that local police department, sheriff's office, whatever.
Was that Brooks' house?
No.
Okay, that sounds.
I don't think so. Anyway, and then they found, like, when they went and looked in that particular dumpster, it just happened that they were able to view the footage before the dumpster had been emptied. And they went and found, like, her torso, but he had, like, cut her up. And so they didn't find all the parts, but they found some. So, all right. So then what should be the penalty for this shit given?
Exactly what the penalty for assault is.
Yeah, I mean, to me, somebody like this, I don't even think it's a thing in New Zealand, but somebody like this qualifies for the death penalty, in my opinion. I would have no qualms whatsoever about putting the needle in the arm of some asshat like this. For reasons I've talked about multiple times, when it comes to sexual predators, there is no fixing these bastards.
No.
So, mysterious phone found in Hungarian twins case. This is a strange one.
Okay.
So, Hungarian twins, Eliza and Henrietta Hutsey, 32, were found dead in the River Dee, Aberdeen, in January of 2025 after vanishing on May 7th of 2024. Initially ruled accidental drownings, a private investigator... Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, I just got a text from my kid. A private investigator uncovered a rusted, shattered phone near a life belt by the river in May of 2025, suggesting foul play. The twins' father, Miklos Hutsey, claims they were murdered, citing a suspicious text to their landlord about moving out, sent from the missing phone. Daily News Hungary, Daily Mail, and The Guardian reported, with images of the river and police search boats, the phone is under forensic analysis, reigniting murder suspicions. So, the brief is from the Daily News Hungary. In February, we reported the horrible news of a pair of Hungarian twins' deaths in Scotland. The tragic case of the Hutsey twins, Eliza and Henrietta, continues to raise questions months after their disappearance and subsequent discovery in the River Dee, Aberdeen. While Scottish police have officially ruled out foul play, a private investigation led by a former Hungarian police officer is challenging the official narrative and has recently uncovered a potentially crucial piece of evidence: the disappearance and discovery of the Hungarian twins on January the 7th, 2025. The Hutzi twins sent a text message to their landlord stating they were moving out and would not return. When the landlord visited their flat the next day, he found many of their belongings, including Eliza's phone, still inside. But the phone that was used to send the message was missing. A large-scale search ensued, and on January 31st, the bodies of the twins were found in the River Dee. Identification was made possible by a distinctive angel tattoo on one of the sisters. The Hutzi twins, on their last stroll, which is in a picture, police Scotland authorities concluded that the twins' deaths were accidental drownings with no evidence of third-party involvement. However, the family and the Hungarian investigator remain unconvinced, citing several inconsistencies and unanswered questions. So, with the little bit that we know about this case, does this sound like an accident or something more sinister?
Sinister a little bit.
Me too. 100%.
Yeah. That's just weird.
There's a lot of weird. I mean, for one thing, Hungary is not like across the road from Scotland.
I was wondering too, why is Scotland involved?
So how the hell did they get to Scotland?
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's a neighboring country.
I wanted to interrupt you and say Scotland, but I was like, keep listening because maybe you'll say something.
That's one of the wackiest parts about this case.
Was nothing.
You know?
So, yeah, why?
I mean, if it would have been, I mean, even Poland isn't next door, but let's just say, I don't even know off my brain what is next door to Hungary.
To the Google.
It would be like, it would have to be, it's one of the Baltic countries, but there's a couple in between Hungary and Poland. But even if it was like Poland, maybe, that would make sense. At least it's like the same region part, but Scotland, that's a bit of a skip away.
I went through that blackout and I heard the wrong thing the first time.
Yeah. So,
what's happening here?
So no, they went missing in Hungary and their bodies were found in Scotland. And,
they're from Hungary.
They're from Hungary. Yeah. And so, with the text message and, them saying, well, we're moving out, but yet all of their stuff was still in their flat. And I don't know, I just love like Europe, the way that they name shit like flats and
the lift or the elevator.
Yeah, they have all the cool names and shit. So
aluminium.
But that just struck me as just okay. No, obviously they didn't send the text message because none of their shit was gone.
Yeah.
And the one girl didn't. The one phone, but the other girl didn't take her phone, which
that's what I'm saying. Like,
in this day and age, how many people go on a trip without their phone?
I don't know, some people would want to, but nobody really does.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
So, do you think that murders and
people can't even go to a trip to the bathroom without their damn phone?
Oh, I know.
So,
as an electrician, you would be blown away by how many outlets I have installed by the toilet so people can charge their phone while using the bathroom.
Interesting.
Which is a big step in the wrong direction, if you ask me.
Exactly how long would you like to be there? Never mind, too personal. Never mind.
Yeah, I know.
Want to know.
It's funny, and when I've told people that, they've been like, no, that was for bidet. Oh, no, I've done bidet outlets as well. No, these are specifically requested so people can charge their phone while on the pot. So... Now, do you think that murders and kidnappings often go unsolved because law enforcement doesn't take them seriously?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they're adults and they can leave.
Yeah, we hear that so many times. I mean, I bitch about it all the time, so.
You have to wait 24 hours before you report a missing person, which is not true, by the way.
It's not, but being told 24 hours is short. Some of them are like 48 or 72. Yeah.
Also not true, by the way.
Yeah, and absolutely ridiculous. I don't agree with that shit at all. But anybody that's listened to any of our shows knows kind of how we feel about that, because we've talked about it several times.
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit.
Push the button. Says it all.
So, is there anything that makes this case more complicated than most, would you say?
Yeah, why is Scotland involved?
Well, Scotland's involved because that's where their bodies were found.
Well, okay, just 10 minutes ago. What?
So they lived in Hungary. They disappeared from Hungary. Their bodies were found in Scotland.
My brain hurts. I did black out then because I don't remember you saying they were found in Scotland. That's why I was like, why is Scotland?
Yes, their bodies were found.
To rewind then, because I don't know what's even going on.
Their bodies were found in a river in Scotland.
A river in Scotland.
Yep.
Okay.
But to your point, I think that is what complicates this case more than others is you have, I mean, shit, we talk about it in this country when you have multiple counties involved, multiple states involved.
Countries?
When you have multiple countries, yeah, it really complicates it. So, you've got the Hungarian officials.
2 towns in the same county in the U.S. is difficult.
Oh, yeah. But you have like Hungarian officials, or at least this private investigator who's like, oh no, this is murder. Something's up. And then with Scotland, they find the bodies and they're just like, no, this looks like a drowning situation. And so it's really tough. What the hell does Hungary do? I mean, they would investigate it, sure, but they have no jurisdiction in Scotland. So
how far are they allowed to investigate? Like, how much can they do as Hungary?
Well, very little in Scotland. I mean, they would probably have to request permission, and Scotland may or may not grant it. And then,
but can they walk around? Can they?
Well, I mean, as a free person, you're allowed to do, whatever. So yeah, they could travel there and walk around the scene as long as the public is allowed to walk around there. Which I don't know if the River Dee is, a place. I have no idea, like if where the bodies are found, if they would be allowed to look there or not. I don't know all the logistics of Interpol. But, if Interpol was to become involved, then that would probably open some pathways for investigation across European countries. But I don't know. That's a tough one, man. It's a really freaking tough one. It's like, if somebody goes missing in, Ohio and their body is found in, the southern part of Mexico or something like that, it's difficult for sure.
Well, that guy that was also found in Yellowstone, I guess it's not really Yellowstone, in the Tetons when they were looking for Gabby Petito.
I remember, but I don't know any of the specifics about it.
I don't know a whole lot. I just know that they found him and identified him, and he was somebody that went missing from, I want to say, Texas. Could have been Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, but it was somewhere in that area that he went missing from. I also want to say, and I don't want to be wrong, so I'm having a memory that he may have had a suicide note.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to go die somewhere pretty, but I don't know if I'm mixing 2 stories together.
Gotcha.
But they didn't seem like that was too hard to get him back where he needed to be.
Yeah, but then there's a case which we might actually end up covering, I don't know, potentially on Dark Dialogue, and probably certainly at some point in the weird shit section, of a guy that went missing in Texas. And there was a guy that got hit by a hit and run driver in, I want to say Oregon. It was either Oregon or Washington. And he was a John Doe for years and years and years. And then this investigator got the wild idea to open up the missing persons reports to a broader area and encompass Texas, and was able to identify a missing person from Texas who matched this description. It's a weird as shit story because the dude, his wife and kids went on went to visit her parents or something like that. And I mean, we're not talking about like a transient type of guy. He was a doctor or a lawyer. Yeah. And somehow got from Texas to, like I said, either Washington or Oregon within 5 or 6 hours and got hit by a hit and run driver. It's a crazy freaking story. But, there's an instance right there where distance is really, really complicates things. And if it wouldn't have been for this one investigator opening that up, to a larger search area, but, the people in Washington and Oregon, they thought that it was like a local transient that got hit by the truck. I mean, they didn't think that it was somebody from Texas, especially not somebody that I'm pretty sure that he flew into the Portland airport, or they assume he did, but then somehow he got from the Portland airport 6 hours away to where he was hit. And in a very short period of time, all this happened. It's crazy. It's a crazy freaking story. But anyway, I do think when you have multiple agencies involved, the more agencies, the worse it is. And, when you cross countries, then it becomes even more difficult because, while most states have very similar laws and stuff like that, when you go to different countries, there's shit that's illegal here that's not legal, or that's not illegal in other places, or vice versa. I mean, It gets so complicated. So, all right, so now is time for the new segment, which is called the Dipshit's Diary.
Nice.
Dipshit Diaries.
So, number 1 in the Dipshit's Diary is a man arrested for West Columbus pet land break-in at Gerbils hidden in his pants. A 19-year-old Ohio man broke into a Columbus pet store, smashing kennels and releasing dogs, birds, ferrets, rabbits, and gerbils, but stole nothing. Police 1 and AP reported with security footage of the chaos and the suspect's arrest after he tripped on a cage. He faces vandalism charges. So the brief is provided by NBC4 and says, Columbus, Ohio, WCMH, a man is in custody after reportedly breaking into several businesses in the far west side of Columbus, including a pet land where multiple animals were set loose early Tuesday morning. According to Columbus police, officers arrived at the Petland store in Hilliard Station at 3:45 a.m. and found an open door. Many animals were roaming free, including birds, dogs, rabbits, gerbils, and ferrets. Officers at the scene were able to recover most of the animals, save for a few gerbils, ferrets, and rabbits. Police said they were looking for a homeless man who also allegedly broke into a Roosters and a Famous Footwear along Hilliard Rome Road. At the Famous Footwear crime scene, blood was also found on some of the merchandise. The man was located about an hour later in the parking area of a Big Lots on Roberts Road. Police said several gerbils were
Fireball stores.
Police said several gerbils were found unharmed inside the man's pants.
They better be unharmed.
The man was treated for injuries sustained while breaking into the businesses. And this picture is an actual picture that shows the cop holding handfuls of gerbils that he just took out his dude's pants. I mean, could you imagine? Like, do you have anything on you that can hurt me? Oh, just gerbils. What, as a cop, what do you, I don't even know what to say.
Well, let me crush my gerbils.
I don't even know what to say. So my first question
My life
is, what in the actual F? Like, I don't even know what to say about this.
Okay. So the dude that broke in was the dude with the gerbils.
Yes.
Okay.
So he let like all the animals free, which, I mean, these cops, when they walk in this place, they gotta be feeling like Jumanji, like, all these animals, birds flying around and I mean, hats off to these cops, man. I'm telling you what, because they actually like corralled the critters and got them. They said they almost caught everything.
Money I would pay to see that. Not that I mean, just anyway. I have questions.
I don't know that I have answers, but I'll do my best.
No. I need to know, were the conditions of this pet store like terrible? Was thinking he was them free?
I mean, I don't know what was in this.
Just opening doors till he found a pet he liked and scooped him all up and ran away?
I don't know. I mean, with the fact that he broke into multiple stores, I gotta.
Blood. Why is there blood on shoes?
So he cut himself while he was breaking into the Foot Locker, and so. But I gotta believe that the dude was like wacko, and
we already discussed. I'm not allowed to get away with saying that word, whacked.
I know. But I don't know. I don't know. But I don't believe that he was like an animal rights activist that was doing this. I think that he was just breaking into stores, and then he was probably high on something and broke into the pet store and then was like, I think I'm going to turn all the animals loose. And so he did it, and then he's like, I think I'm going to take some gerbils with me.
But gerbils' little legs can't run that fast, so I have to help them escape.
But he didn't take all of them because they did find gerbils or they had a hard time finding gerbils and ferrets or whatever. I don't know.
Yes, that's which ones needed more liberation than the others.
I guess. So, what's the dumbest theft that you've heard of?
Oh, my. There's so many. Like, that woman who really thought she was going to walk out of Walmart with several $100s of steak in her pants.
Oh, yes.
I don't know that I have a weirdest one.
I mean,
because they're all there. I feel very like I should be telling the future right now because I'm in this cloud of
yes.
Like, where's my crystal ball? I can't pinpoint other than people who think they're going to end up walking out a lot more bulgy than they walked in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many dumb ones. It's really hard. And, I mean, honestly, one of the, I don't know if I'd say dumb, but I mean, I think it definitely qualifies for dumb. And because of how everything ended up, it's not a funny story, but that's when Maura Murray, who we'll be covering, and she went missing, but that's when she stole, it was like a lipstick or a chapstick or something like that from Fort Knox.
Yeah.
And got kicked out of West Point because of it.
Things.
Yeah, that was a weird one. That was a really weird one.
It wasn't a reason, really.
She said she didn't know because when her friend from West Point, another girl that was also in West Point, said, "What the hell did you do that for?" And Maura was like, "I don't know, because I had the money to pay for it." It's a really, I don't know, that's an odd one. So it definitely ranks up there with
like a rush, maybe.
I don't know, a cry for help, or I don't know. We'll get into it when we get into the case because I have my theories.
It's also like this guy, like maybe if there weren't drugs involved.
I think there was drugs involved.
That's why it took me so long to say if there weren't drugs involved. Was it a rush? Like, what is the least amount of trouble I can get into for breaking in possibly a pet store?
Yeah, but he broke into multiple businesses.
Well, that's the thing, is the rush fed him, and then he kept going.
I think the guy was stoned out of his mind on something. I can find no other reason why you'd fill your pockets full of gerbils.
Was it Dane Cook? Because he's always wanted to do a B&E. Have you seen that?
I don't know who that is.
Oh my God. Finally, I get to be upset with you for something. Dane Cook's Vicious Circle comedy thing.
Yeah, God, you're talking Greek. I don't know what you're saying.
Oh, no, it's hilarious. Find it, watch it, and then you'll understand if ever I tell you Grindel's tour. But anyway, yes, he said he's always wanted to do a B&E. And once he did one, he realized he didn't want to do the E. He just wanted to do the B. He just wanted to break. And I'm wondering if this guy's having the same thing.
I think this guy's strung out on drugs and was having an episode. That's what I think.
I'm not discounting drugs. You're just trying to figure out why the drugs made him want to put gerbils in his pants.
Yeah. So that brings up the next question then, and that is, should this shit pickle be jailed for this?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
it is illegal. Like, he did break into things.
Well, and it sounds like he did probably tremendous dollar amount of damage,
yes.
you know.
So there's restitution involved. Animals could have been hurt. I freaking hope none were.
It doesn't sound like they were, but it really does make you wonder.
Like, I'm right there with how people treat kids, and this might be unpopular, but I am almost a little bit more with how they treat animals. And I'll tell you why. I understand that kids can't defend themselves either, but animals can't defend themselves even more so in those aspects because they can't speak, they can't tell on anybody, they can't. So I get really pissed off when people do things to animals.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I don't know that I agree with that, but you're entitled to your opinion. But
it's very, very little.
I have zero tolerance for animal cruelty. Now, I'm a hunter. I grew up on a ranch, and so, there is a definite distinction in my mind between, like hunting or something like that and cruelty to animals. But like that sorry piece of shit son of a bitch that ran over the wolf and then duct taped it and took it to the freaking bar. And what was that? Was that like Pinedale or Big Piney or
Big Piney?
One of those.
Yeah.
And yeah, that son of a bitch.
That was disgusting.
I'd like to get my hands on that bastard. Nothing happened to him because he didn't break any laws, which I just have a hard time with.
Cruelty to animals wasn't part of those laws?
I don't think that the way it was written, it applies to wild animals. I don't know. I don't know the specifics. I just know.
Rescued. I'm using air quotes, people. Rescued the baby buffalo because it looked cold. They got in trouble.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know the specifics.
It had to be euthanized.
But I just know that he's a piece of shit. He gave Wyoming a bad name.
Yes, he did.
And I'd like to get my hands on the bastard and duct tape his freaking mouth and, kick him and leave him in a freaking corner in a bar as he sit there dying.
While people take pictures and
don't get me wrong, because I despise wolves and I am not a fan of the whole program that brought them to us, but that doesn't mean that they deserve cruelty.
Exactly. Exactly.
And no animal does.
And that's why I agree with you on the hunting thing. That's not a cruelty. You guys make sure that they get killed as quickly and efficiently as possible. And you're using them
right
for the greater good, not to take to a bar as a prop.
But there is a definite reason why cruelty to animals is part of the homicidal triad, because getting any kind of amusement from causing anything pain is there's something broke in your freaking brain.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
So, all right, next story. Suspected car thief arrested while trying to steal an unmarked police car full of police officers. So, In Lakeway, Texas, a man attempted to steal an unmarked police car
What are you doing?
on Fantail Loop, unaware that it was occupied by officers surveilling him for a stolen vehicle. KVUE and KENS5 reported that he fled on foot after realizing his mistake, but was quickly arrested. He possessed another stolen car and faces charges including tampering with evidence and engaging in organized criminal activity. Security footage captured the attempt. So, the brief is provided by KVUE ABC.
They were surveilling him?
Yeah.
Oh.
So the man now faces multiple charges, including tampering with evidence and engaging in organized criminal activity. Lakeway, Texas. License plate readers in Lakeway helped capture a man who tried stealing an unmarked police car full of cops. On January 1st, the Lakeway Police Department was alerted.
Kidnapping?
No. The Lakeway Police Department was alerted by the license plate reader about a stolen car in the area. Officers later found the car unoccupied on Fantail Loop. Police decided to use an unmarked vehicle to find the driver of the stolen vehicle. When the man came out of the home on Fantail Loop, police say that he decided to try stealing the unmarked police car instead. To his surprise, officers were sitting inside the vehicle. After a brief chase on foot, the man was arrested. Police said the man, who was also found to be possessing a car that matched the stolen vehicle, he faces multiple charges, including tampering with evidence and engaging in organized criminal activity.
I want to see attempted kidnapping.
So, my first question is why? Like, why?
Did you not see them?
Apparently not.
And how full? Are we talking clown car full? Because that's immediately what I thought of. Like,
you know as much about it as I do. I don't know. I mean, I doubt it. I suspect there was maybe 2 or 3 of them in there, but I don't know. It was described as full of cops.
Full of cops.
But, you know, it's funny because I've seen a lot of unmarked police cars. And, you know, some of these departments drive pretty nice vehicles. But it's not like they're, like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's not like they're driving around in Porsches or Lamborghinis or something. Like,
but if they were and you tried to steal those, they would be found faster.
Right. Yeah, and I realize that that's not the market for, like, chop shops and stuff.
Oh, Honda Civic. I don't know. Every answer seems to be drugs.
Yeah.
Don't do drugs, people.
I mean, this guy is, like, dipshit of dipshits because
they're watching him.
Well, no, so he steals a car and then parks it in front of his house. Who does that? Like, car thieves, they steal a car and then they get it to a chop shop or whatever. As soon, have you watched?
I was just
what is it?
For a friend.
What's that movie?
Gone in 60 Seconds.
That, yeah, where they're like racing to get it to the chop shop. I realize that's Hollywood, but I mean, in reality, that's really what they do is they steal a car and they try to get it to a chop shop right away because they don't want to be caught driving a stolen car.
Yeah.
This dipshit parks in front of his house. And then the cops with their plate readers drive by and they're like, well, that's a stolen car. I wonder which house it belongs to. I guess we'll park and see which dumbass comes out and gets in it. And then the dumbass instead comes out and tries to steal their car. Why they're in it?
Oh, I kind of love him. I want to talk to him.
So, what's the most awkward mistake that you've made in a rush?
Oh, I shattered my leg.
Oh, that would be an awkward mistake.
Yeah, I shattered it good, too. I was in bed for 6 months. Bed rest. I don't like stairs or heels now.
I bet.
Yeah.
I can't really point to one. I don't know. I mean, I've done some dumb shit, and no doubt about it that I've, you know, been in a hurry and done something really stupid, and then, but I just can't think of one off the top of my head.
So, think that I possibly could have been seen as sexually harassing a coworker through text because of autocorrect.
Oh yes, autocorrect is all our friend.
They love this story, by the way, at work. But I was asking our chief maintenance engineer to come to our office because we needed something fixed. And essentially the text read, an invitation to our orifice. Yeah. That's several years ago. And anybody even says the word autocorrect, people have to say, Angela, do you remember the time?
Oh yes. Yeah, I think that we're all victims of autocorrect and sending something and then being like, they need to have like a 60-second take back on text messages. So if you like do something quick and send it and then you like read it and you're like, oh shit, that's not what I wanted to say.
I'm not inviting you to the office.
It's too late.
Yeah.
So.
But have you seen that website, autocorrectfails.com?
No.
God, you'll laugh forever.
Oh, I bet there's some good ones.
It's amazing. If you need to laugh, go there. It's amazing.
So, does this rank for the stupidest criminal in 2025, or is it too early to call a winner?
Too early to call it.
I agree.
I have faith that there will be better.
Yes, I do too.
Better.
Yep.
It's way too early.
Yep.
We're only halfway through.
We are.
Not even quite halfway.
Yeah, we're not even quite halfway.
Tomorrow begins the first day of halfway. Tomorrow's the 1st of June.
And halfway July.
It's 12 months. Tomorrow's the 6th month. So I guess if you're looking when June is over, but they said tomorrow begins the month of halfway.
Gotcha. Yep.
So, semantics, but whatever.
All right. So now it is the weird shit section.
Weird shit section.
Weird shit.
Okay, so up first is the dancing plague of 1518.
That can't be what it sounds like.
In 1518, hundreds of Strasbourg, France danced uncontrollably for weeks, some collapsing from exhaustion. Historical chronicles and Le Monde archives described the hysteria, with woodcuts showing frenzied dancers. Theories include ergot poisoning or mass psychosis. So the brief is provided by the BBC, and in 1518, a dance plague saw citizens of a French city, Strasbourg, reportedly dancing uncontrollably for days on end with fatal results. It's a bizarre event that continues to fascinate artists and writers, writes Rosalind Gianna. Like all good plague stories, this one begins with omens. A star streaks across the sky, fields flood. Extreme cold is followed by extreme heat, which is followed inevitably by extreme hunger. On a sweltering summer's day in July 1518, a woman called Frau Tophea steps into a square in Strasbourg and begins to dance. At first, those around her only watch. Curiosity piqued by this unusual public display, they watch a woman who cannot stop. She dances for nearly a week, failed occasionally by exhaustion, but largely undaunted by the body's other warning signs like pain, hunger, and shame. There is no music. Her heart keeps the tempo, working hard to make the motion continue. By the time she is taken away, it is too late. Others have joined. By August, there will be hundreds like her. They cannot explain themselves. They dance as if compelled, feet bloodied and limbs twitching. A poem taken from a contemporary chronicle describes, quote, women and men who dance and hop in the public market, in alleys and streets, day and night, until the, quote, sickness finally stops. Further chronicles outline the measures taken by the authorities in response. One writer describes dancers being carted off to St. Vitus's shrine outside the city, where they are given small crosses and red shoes. Another mentions more direct arrangements made for the dancers to tire them into submission with, quote, persons specially appointed to dance with them for payment to the music of drums and pipes. This does not help. Quote, all of this was of no avail, and many danced themselves to death. So, was this a toxin or something weirder?
First of all, I would be remiss if I did not quote Chandler Bing from Friends and say, Gloria Estefan is right. Eventually, the rhythm is going to get you. I also will tell you that in my brain while you were reading was the Fraggle Rock theme song, Dance Your Cares Away. I think, now that I've done the laughing portion of this, I shall get serious. I think that it was probably a poison, like the rye thing. Well, I know, but I was going back to... So they always say, what was that? Out here. You don't know what
I don't have a clue.
Yeah. The plague, the firstborn sons die because they are the ones that get fed first, and it was the bad rye that was feeding.
Oh, you're talking about the biblical plagues of Egypt.
Yeah, so I'm thinking this is up there with that. It's something to do with something bad.
Yeah, this actually wasn't the first time that I've heard of this story. And I've actually seen documentaries and stuff on it. And the prevailing theory is ergot poisoning, which is a toxin that grows in grain. Mm-hmm. And, with the extreme weather conditions that led up to this, extreme wetness would definitely breed ergot poisoning. So I think that's probably the most likely. Yeah. But the way that it showed up is very interesting.
Yeah, so someone who just can't stop.
No, I think I'd get a different job.
It's like the first escort service, kind of.
Well, that was not the first.
I mean,
oh no.
I mean, in the way that they claim that they are now, is they just escorting you to a dance.
Oh, yes, I see your point.
Come on, man.
So, would you join a spontaneous dance-off?
Situationally.
Yeah. Me? Not a chance in hell. When that whole flash mob thing was going around, I never... thank God, was subjected to that torture. But I mean, I was online where you'd happen across some stupid videos of them people. I hate musicals. So I was like, that right there with Disney. It was right at the same level as that plague of flash mob dancing. But is all I could think of is that shit ever starts around me and I'm like ducking out. I'm getting the hell out of there quick because, and I've been at like Renaissance festivals and stuff where they do that.
I was going to say you're about to probably experience.
Yeah, I'm headed to a Renaissance festival soon. And if they start dancing, I'm going to do the same thing I always do. And that is get the hell out of there and head to the other end of the park or whatever. Not for me.
Well, I might have to crash this festival just to see if anybody does that to you.
Well, you will see me disappear quick because I don't participate in that nonsense.
So my situation would be like, what the cause of the dance-off is, what state of mind am I in? You never know.
Yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, not me.
I mean.
Not gonna happen.
I don't blame you. I'm not saying I'm looking for it.
So
I am looking for somebody to flash mob you though now. That would be great. But
you would see me disappear quick. That's all I'm saying.
Magician John.
Even if I had to run over dancers to make it happen, I'm getting the hell out of there. So would you have tried to stop the dancers or let it play out?
In those times or right now?
No, I'm talking about 15, 18 when this was going on.
I probably would have wanted away from them.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think that if I'm seeing somebody that's doing harm to themselves because they're having some sort of a mental break or whatever.
Seizure, like?
No, I really believe it was ergot poisoning.
But I mean, like, causing. See,
no,
they have groove. Like,
no, I think they were.
They look good, or
I don't think there's too many videos left from 1518, but from what I understand, it was actually dancing.
John.
Yes?
I don't think there's videos left.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, I think the VHS selection from 1518 is pretty limited, but everything I read and everything, I think they were legit dancing.
Legit dancing? Okay.
But I think whatever was affecting their brain was like making music play or whatever, and they just couldn't stop themselves, you know?
Back then, I probably would have let it play out. I would venture to guess that I would be even more anxiety ridden than I am now.
Yeah.
If I was in that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because you're real limited in 1518 what you could do. And so you go talk to them or whatever. And then, I don't know. I mean, my nature is probably like, okay, if you're too stupid to stop dancing, then stop dancing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
dance how
I guess just knock yourself out, whatever. I'm getting the hell out of here because I don't do dancing. I don't think I would have done flash mobs in 1518 any more than I do in 2025. So, yeah, I think after I was like, you know, your feet are like falling off.
Yeah.
And they were like, I'd been like, okay, I'm out.
That is the only flash mob I will ever get out of you.
That's it.
And I'm glad I was looking.
That is it. Okay, so next we have the wow signal, a lingering mystery or a natural phenomenon. So, this is a long one. Bear with me. Astronomer Jerry Eyman detected a 72-second radio signal from deep space at Ohio State's Big Ear Telescope, dubbed the WOW signal. The New York Times and scientific journals noted its unexplained strength with preserved printouts. Some spectacular alien origins. So the brief is provided by astronomy.com. A strange signal from Sagittarius. Late in the summer. Late in the summer of 1977, Jerry Eyman sat down to reveal the latest batch of computer printouts detailing data collected from the Big Ear Radio Observatory, where he was volunteering as an astronomer. The observatory was controlled remotely, and it could collect several days' worth of data before the computer ran out of storage space. At that point, a technician would show up, reset things, and start the next observing run, focusing on a new patch of sky. The Big Ear Radio Observatory was well known among astronomers in its day. The telescope was designed by the pioneering Ohio State University radio astronomer John Krause. And it was largely built by university staff, volunteers, and part-time laborers in the 1960s. Originally, it was constructed with funds from the National Science Foundation, funds to carry out the dedicated task of creating the most accurate radio map sky ever. The Big Ear Radio Telescope's unique design allowed staff to build it relatively inexpensively, but it was still capable of making fundamental breakthroughs in radio astronomy. But Big Ear didn't look like radio telescopes. It looked like someone covered a football field in white paint and installed bleachers at either end and behind the goalpost. These quote, bleachers were actually feed horns to funnel radio signals from the telescope's large reflector to its receiver. The Big Ear Radio Telescope's unique design allowed staff to build it relatively inexpensively, but it was still capable of making fundamental breakthroughs. I just read that part. Why did that copy? However, after Big Ear completed mapping the radio sky in 1972, the telescope needed a new task. Beginning in 1973, NASA agreed to fund a largely volunteer-staffed effort to search the sky for radio signals from technologically advanced aliens. Besides the professional astronomers behind the project, a group of donors, lawyers, school teachers, and college professors from totally unrelated professions also pitched in over the decades. Quote, "We were operating on a shoestring budget," Iman told Astronomy in 2016. "We didn't have the money to pay folks, which is why those who were involved were volunteers. The red lines show where the WOW signal may have originated from in Sagittarius. Scientists have returned to this region many times, but no plausible source for the signal has ever been discovered. The red lines show Iman reviewing large printouts of data every few days was a routine part of being a volunteer, and on August 17th, 1977, as he looked through the latest stack of papers, he spotted a set of numbers and letters, 6EQUJ5.
Can I buy a bell?
You need to. So, Philip Terry Graham, based on work by Benjamin Crowell. To the untrained eye, it looks like nonsense, but to Iman, the data meant that the Big Ear had picked up a very strong signal that started out low, increased in strength, and then dropped off again. That meant the signal was likely picked up as one particular region of the sky passed over the detector. It was not earthly. The signal also only appeared in one of 50 possible channels. It was a narrowband signal, just what we were looking for, Iman said. It didn't take long for me to recognize that this was extremely interesting, and the word wow came to my mind very quickly, so I wrote it down. But as he poured through the data from the following days, he was surprised to find the signal didn't reappear. His intrigue only deepened after meeting with the observatory director and staff. Together, they searched the sky for any possible objects in the region of the sky that could explain the signal. The astronomers checked everything from comets and planets to satellites and more. Nothing matched up. The team kept Big Ear observing that same celestial spot for a month, but they found nothing. And a year later, when they tried again, they still came up empty. The SETI, or SETI project at Big Ear ultimately lasted for 24 years, making it the longest-running continuous SETI search in history. But during that time, the investigators never picked up anything else quite like the WOW signal. For Ehrman's part, he also maintains that we may never know exactly what he discovered that day. No conclusion was ever possible other than it certainly had the potential of being a signal from extraterrestrial intelligence. Is this an alien message or some weird cosmic glitch?
I would venture to guess. It sounded creepy as shit, though. So, in all of the cinematic portrayals of what aliens sound like, according to whatever scientists helped that movie, it sounded like aliens screeching.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounded like something, and it's coming from outer space. I don't know that I can say that it's aliens, but I do find it interesting that it's not something that we've identified again since 1977. We have far more advanced technology than this, this audio telescope that they were using back then. And so I don't know. I mean, you've seen the movie Contact. It basically was based off of this, they picked up. Yeah, because that's what they were doing in Contact, basically, was listening for audio signals from aliens, and then they ended up finding one, But so the most interesting thing to me is that it's never been found again. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was, in 2005 or whatever, we intercepted the same signal, and then we're able to use our advanced technology to say, oh, well, this is what caused that.
Mm-hmm.
That's never happened. And so it does really leave it out there as a possibility that this was some sort of radio transmission or something.
Yeah.
So would you have kept the signal secret or shouted it from the rooftops?
I'm pretty sure I would have told somebody who I don't know at this moment, but
yeah, I mean,
told somebody.
If I'm this dude,
But professor somewhere.
I'm definitely telling people. That's the whole point of this project, is to identify these. So, okay, so my question is, if it's alien, why did they hang up after 72 seconds?
It's long distance.
Long distance, and in 1977, that meant something.
Charge of fly, man. It was probably like $1,000 a second.
Probably.
I mean,
from Sagittarius? Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely not in my network.
No, mine either, even now.
There's some roaming charges there. How many more jokes can I try to tell? That they said all they could to say, they were done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if it was alien, we just happened to pick up a stray signal. I don't think that it was necessarily directed at Earth.
Yeah.
I think it was probably, I think no matter what it is, whether it be alien or something else that we can't yet explain,
Stray signal.
I think it was a stray signal that we happened to pick up.
I agree.
Back in the day, I've said before, we had like almost zero TV. And if we wanted to get, we had two possible channels, and you could get one, but then if you wanted to watch the other one, you had to crawl up on the roof and adjust the antenna. And so, if you've ever watched TV like that with those old antennas, or listen to radio where you don't have the best signal, you'll get stray signals that'll come in. It
used to scare me so bad.
Yeah, you'll get some weird stuff that comes in and stuff. And so that's what I think this was. I don't know what the origin of it was, but I think it was just a stray signal that we happened to pick up. I don't think that they were like broadcasting a message to Earth.
No.
All right, so next is...
probably talking bad about us.
Probably. Yeah. So next is the Voynich manuscript from the 15th century. And this is a kind of a long one, too. So the Voynich manuscript, a 15th century book filled with undeciphered text, bizarre botanical drawings, and astronomical diagrams, remains unsolved. Yale's Beinecke Library and BBC Archives note its mystery, with high-resolution scans available. Theories range from a cipher to a hoax. So the brief is provided by Vocal.media. The Voynich manuscript is considered one of the most enigmatic documents in the world. Dating back to the 15th century, this manuscript is written in an unknown language and features strange illustrations, baffling scholars and thinkers for decades. So in this article that I'm quoting from, they say that they will explore the story of the mysterious manuscript from its discovery to the numerous theories that have attempted to decipher its content. The Voynich manuscript was discovered in 1912 by book dealer Wilfrid Voynich, who purchased it from an Italian library. Since then, it has become the subject of intense study and research, with numerous experts attempting to decode it without success. The manuscript consists of 240 pages written on vellum, or animal skin. It contains mysterious text in an unknown language, along with illustrations of unfamiliar plants, astronomical diagrams, and scenes that appear to depict strange rituals. The language used in the manuscript has yet to be identified. Some researchers believe it is a coded language, while others think it might be a constructed language or even a hoax. There are numerous theories attempting to explain the origin of the Voynich manuscript. Some are based on historical evidence, while others lean more towards speculation and legend. One of the most common theories is that the manuscript is a hoax, created to deceive collectors of rare books. However, the complexity of the text and illustrations makes this theory difficult to believe. Some researchers believe the manuscript is written in a lost or extinct language, making it extremely difficult to decipher. Some Some experts suggest that the manuscript might be a guide to herbal medicine, as it contains illustrations of unknown plants. However, this theory does not explain the mysterious text. Others believe the manuscript contains secret knowledge or esoteric wisdom, possibly related to alchemy or astronomy. Over the years, many scholars and cryptographers have attempted to decode the manuscript. They have used advanced techniques such as artificial intelligence and statistical analysis, but with little success. In recent years, artificial intelligence has been used to try to decode the manuscript. Some studies suggest that the language might be related to Semitic languages, but these findings remain controversial. The Voynich manuscript has inspired numerous works of art and literature, including novels, movies, and TV shows. It has become a symbol of mystery and hidden knowledge. The story of the Voynich manuscript reminds us that the world is full of mysteries that may never be solved. It also teaches us the importance of patience and perseverance in the face of scientific challenges. The Voynich manuscript remains one of the greatest mysteries in history. Despite technological advancements and extensive efforts to decode it, its content remains unknown. Perhaps the truth has been lost to time, but the story of the Voynich manuscript will always remind us that the world is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. The Voynich manuscript, a mystery that will never be forgotten.
They tried Google Translate?
Oh, no, I doubt they've ever thought of that. Pretty sure that Google requires it to be an actual language before it can translate it. So...
You never know. Anybody ask Alexa?
Is this a secret code or is it an elaborate prank?
I want to say it's a code. Or because I want it to be. Because I like it. Like the punchy type things.
It's a tough one because it would be extremely elaborate if it was a prank.
Yeah.
You know, right down to the paper it was written on.
That?
I don't know. Have you ever heard of the case of the Mormon guy that made these elaborate books and letters and stuff that were like ancient, supposedly ancient, and then when it was about to get out, he like blew people up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember that douchebag's name, but I mean, his stuff was pretty elaborate. It tricked some major experts.
Huh.
I mean, I come down on, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here a little bit.
I know.
Because I think, and I don't know anything about this other than what I just read to you, but I kind of think it's legit. But on the other side of the coin is, it's a written language, and it's not like we're talking about something that's from, 5,000 BC or something like that. It doesn't date back that far because written language doesn't. The animal skin that it's written on doesn't go, you know what I mean? So it's not, I guess it's possible, but it's difficult to believe that we had a society that was able to have a written language like this and produce manuscripts like this, and yet they just disappeared. So I don't know, I'm kind of on both sides of the fence on this one.
That's weird. It's very weird. I like it though.
So would you trust a medieval scholar who claimed to crack it?
It depends on what he wanted to say. I mean, if he was coming out saying all these things about like different religions and now we have to follow all of this, I'd be a little skeptical because I'm just skeptical of all.
Right.
Who come up with new religions and crap. But I mean, if he was just saying like, yeah, this is a recipe for tea,
right,
and it wasn't something that was going to change the world, I'd probably be a little bit more apt to believe in.
Yeah, it'd be tough for me. I really would have a hard time believing him. He would have to have some very sound reasoning behind it because, frankly, we're not talking about a code that needs to be broken. We're talking about a language that doesn't exist. Yeah. So you literally could make up anything and say, well, this symbol is an A and this one's a B and this one's a C. And if we put it all together, this is what it reads. Yeah,
you could tune it to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, I've read all kinds of like code, where people say that they've broken a code and it reads this. Well, okay, if you're right, But if you're not, then it reads something entirely different. You know what I mean? Like, that's like a code, like a simple substitution code, like what I'm talking about. Like, this is but
then what if we're summoning something we ought not be summoning? We should just leave it alone.
Right. And then, like that article said, it's an entire language, so it would be very difficult but J.R.R. Tolkien did it. He wrote the entire Elvish language when he was working on Lord of the Rings. He didn't, he made up a language.
Well, all the...
So if it is a prank, what would be a reason to create a prank like this?
It would depend on, was it created by the person who claims to rig it? Then notoriety, money.
I'm just saying that if this book is a prank, what would be the reason to create the book?
Boredom?
Yeah, I think it's financial. I think it's would be the same reason as the Mormon dude, because they could sell this book for a butt ton of money. And, but one thing that discounts that some is the era, 1912. But also during that same period of time, there were all kinds of forgeries of like Egyptian artifacts and stuff that were coming out of Egypt and being sold as real, and they weren't. They were phony. So I could see somebody creating this to sell it, to make money.
Yeah.
Because they've done it time and time and time and time again throughout history,
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that so many of the sites in Egypt are lacking a ton of stuff, is because people went in and stole a bunch of the crap that was there to sell it for money. So I wouldn't put it past somebody to create something like this. And I think that their motive would be money. All right, next we have, and this one's freaking weird as shit. This is when you need the do whatever sound, because it's bizarre as shit. I don't even know where I come down on this. So this is the unsolved lead mask case. Death, UFOs, and a cryptic message. So, 2 Brazilian men were found they were found dead, not near dead. They were actually dead in 1966.
That's how they were found?
Yep, that's them. They were found dead near Rio wearing lead masks and carrying notes about, quote, a capsule and, quote, a rendezvous. The Guardian and local archives reported. With photos of the bodies and masks, theories include UFOs or a failed experiment. So the brief is provided by Vocal.media again, and it says, on a chilly August day in 1966, a grim discovery was made on the slopes of Vitim Hill, a desolate area on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro. 2 electronic technicians, Manuel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana, were found dead, lying side by side. What made the scene even more peculiar were the lead masks covering their eyes. Adding to the mystery, the men were fully clothed in suits despite the inhospitable terrain and the warm Brazilian weather. No signs of struggle or violence were evident, and there were no apparent injuries or wounds on the bodies. The most perplexing aspect of the case was undoubtedly the lead masks worn by the deceased men. These masks, resembling something out of a science fiction movie, were crudely fashioned from lead sheaths. Each mask covered the eyes and part of the face, and they were held in place by straps around the back of the head. The purpose of these masks remains a mystery to this day. Speculation has ranged from protection against radiation to shielding the eyes from a blinding light, but no definitive explanation has been established. The bizarre nature of the masks only deepened the intrigue surrounding the lead mask case. Near the bodies, investigators discovered a notebook containing cryptic notes written in a code that has yet to be deciphered. The notes contained references to the times of the day and the phrase, quote, 1630, be at the specified location, end quote. This detail has led some to believe that the deaths were part of a prearranged plan, adding another layer of complexity to the mystery.
Okay, so 2 things. It's just early times sleep masks. Walk out the light.
Made of lead.
Yes.
And it was 1866, so it wasn't that early.
Still. And then secondly, they're just Men in Black in a store.
They are definitely Men in Black.
It's protecting them from the memory eraser things. I love how you're looking at me right now.
You might be onto something.
That's what it is. I cracked it.
I mean, my number one question again is what the actual F? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Talk for a minute. I got to refill my water.
Yeah, lead, though. I don't know why it would be lead. Because it's protecting, like, the sensitive tissue in the eye? From what? I'm talking to myself here. I tried to work this out, and it's not happening. Just goes to show I cannot work anything out without my partner.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously lead is important for like a radioactive, for protection from radioactive elements. That's why you wear like a lead blanket and stuff when you're getting an x-ray. But on your eyes? Never heard of no shit like that before. I don't know, man.
Maybe something's gonna like blow up the eyes, or I don't know.
This one.
I want to know.
So do you think this is an alien plot or science gone wrong?
Science.
What about the cryptic messages, be at specific place at 1630?
That's why it's science, because they're scientists and they're going somewhere, and that's why it's Men in Black, too.
Were they scientists, though?
No, I'm projecting. I'm projecting out into the...
Well, it says, though, what they were. They were electronic technicians.
Yeah, so...
I wouldn't call them scientists. They decoded the wow signal, and it told them to do something.
You're right.
Although it was a few years before the actual wow signal, but...
It was time travel.
Or maybe they picked up the wow signal in 66. And it only appears on whatever, there's a name for that. I don't know, like 66, 77, 88, whatever. That's when the wow signal, I am making shit up.
I know.
As I go, so.
Yeah, you don't have to give me that look. I know. But I like it, so I was letting you tell me stories. I like it.
So, I don't know. This one's weird as shit to me.
So, okay. 66, you say?
Yes.
So there were the ability to test how they died?
Yeah, but they couldn't determine cause of death. There was like no injuries to the bodies or anything.
There was no toxicology. There was
nothing that was noted in this article, but I mean, again, this is all I know about this. Surprisingly, I've never heard of this before because it's weird enough that it should be on like...
Both the faces look so familiar.
Yeah, I don't know. They look like cartel hitmen to me, but...
familiar to me. Like, I almost want to do a reverse Google search, an image search.
How about it? Because this picture is all over the internet.
And so they just look so familiar to me. Yeah, the coded... I mean,
it's a freaking bizarre one. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know. I have nothing. It's weird enough that it could potentially be something. I can't imagine it's like an organized crime thing or anything like that, because what is the point of the lead glasses? It doesn't make any sense. Murder doesn't really make any sense. Again, why the lead glasses? The fact that they're electronics engineers does make me believe that they could have potentially interrupted some kind of a signal.
Yeah. Well, no, because you have to be able to see through them. Now I'm arguing with myself.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I was thinking, like, it protects the eyes from, like, welding or whatnot, but what are you welding that you can't see? So...
But I do think that you're onto something. I mean, the only reason that I can think of to have lead glasses would be to protect from an extraordinarily bright, potentially radioactive light. But
heat.
If it's radioactive, you'd want to wear a freaking lead suit.
Yeah. Unless they only thought it hurt the soft, fatty tissue of the eyes.
Maybe, but whatever killed them definitely wasn't that. I don't know. I think this one is doomed to remain a mystery because I don't find any way that this could ever be solved unless they were able to discover some journal or something that one of them kept that explained what the hell they were doing. Other than that, I just don't see a way to freaking solve this one.
Yeah.
All right. So the Flannan Isles lighthouse keepers, the disappearance.
Lighthouses are creepy.
So 3 lighthouse keepers vanished from Scotland's Flannan Isles, leaving an untouched meal and a stopped clock. The Times and Maritime Records reported with photos of the empty lighthouse. Theories range from rogue waves to madness. So on December, and so the brief is provided by lighthousedigest.com. And it says, on December the 15th, 1900, just days following the first anniversary of the light being lit for the first time, Captain Holman of the steamer Archer, bound for Leith, Scotland, noticed the light was out and reported the outage by wireless to the Cosmopolitan Line Streamer's headquarters. CLS failed to notify the Northern Lighthouse Board because, quote, other more pressing matters caused it to escape from memory, end quote. Occasional keeper Roderick Mackenzie, who is responsible for observing the light from nearby Gallon Head, also failed to notice the outage. Relief keepers due on the island December the 20th were delayed by severe storms and did not arrive at the site until December 26th, the day after Christmas. Captain Jim Harvey, noting that the usual relief flag was not flying and the landing was empty, sounded the relief vessel's whistle and shot a signal flare, neither of which elicited a response. He then ordered relief keeper Joseph Moore to row ashore in the dinghy to investigate. Landing on the island, Moore found the gate and the outside door to the keeper's quarters closed. Inside, the kitchen floor was open, and he noted that the clock had stopped and that the fire was not lit. Finding no trace of the keepers, James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur, Moore hurried back to the relief boat to notify Captain Harvey, who then ordered 4 members of his crew to return to the island with Moore to investigate. Lamps were cleaned and refilled, ready for nighttime. An upturned chair lay on the floor alongside the table. In the clothes locker stood 1 set of oilskins, or a rain jacket, and a pair of wellies, or galoshes, and the other 2 sets were missing. The West Landing had been hit by bad weather, iron railings were bent, a life buoy had been ripped from its mountings, and a stone weighing over a ton had been displaced high up on the island, and still there was no trace of the keepers. So what do you think happened?
I don't know. That's creepy. Lighthouses are creepy, though.
Lighthouses are creepy.
Lighthouses always creep me out.
I mean,
Not helping.
I think that it's a pretty strong possibility that this was a storm.
Yeah. Swept them away.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a storm that's bad enough to move a 1-ton boulder,
Mm-hmm.
it could easily just sweep these guys off into the ocean. I probably should have, but I didn't look up pictures to this to see if it was kind of on like a peninsula or something, but
Oh, yeah.
lighthouses usually are on something like that. And so I could see something like a rogue wave or something like that coming on and just wiping them right off the island or whatever and sweeping them out to sea, and their bodies would have probably never been found. So I do think that there's a completely logical explanation for this, but I don't know. Do you think it could be like paranormal or something like that?
No. I mean, I don't really think so. And I usually go there. So I think that you're right, that it's, but why? They said they left food prepared untouched.
Yes.
So I wonder what would have happened that made them all go out.
I think it's very possible that it could have been like the storm, you know? Maybe I don't know why they went out.
Everything's before the storm.
Yep.
Like,
Kind of like batten down the hatches, you know?
yeah.
Get ready for it. And then, because
Ready to hunker down, and then they just were swept away.
yeah, because it almost sounds to me like they probably disappeared in the daytime. And I say that because all the lanterns were filled and ready to burn that night, so they weren't burning when they disappeared. So I think they were probably getting ready throughout the day for their thing, and then potentially 2 of them were outside battening down the hatches, like I said, or whatever. And I say that because the oilskin and the wellies About 2 of them were gone, so they probably got all dressed up in their winter gear or their weather gear, went out to do whatever they were going to do. Something happened. Maybe they called for help, and the third guy went running out to help them without his warm clothes or whatever on, and all 3 of them ended up getting swept off. I mean, I could see a situation where one of them gets swept away, the other one's screaming for help and calling for somebody to come help him. The third guy runs out there to help, and then they all 3 end up in the drink.
Yeah, trying to save him or another whatever wave.
Right.
I think that's incredibly plausible.
To me, I just didn't get like the creepy haunting vibe from this. I read it as just like a tragic weather related accident. I really did. I mean, who knows, but as you read a lot of these stories, you just get a vibe like the Devil's Footprint one in our last episode, where it's just like, oh, there's some weird shit going on here. Like the dudes with the lead glasses. I'm like, okay, this one's weird as hell.
I think I might dig into that a little bit if maybe, I don't know, if I don't remember, but lead glasses.
That's a bizarre one. It really is. I don't get that vibe for this one at all, but the lead glasses one, and I was like, well, it's like I said, what the actual F? I mean, how do I even write a question for this? Because
there are none.
This just doesn't make any sense.
I've lost it forever.
What'd you lose?
The stress ball.
Oh. It didn't come my direction.
Yeah, it'll be found.
So, but anyway, that's all I have for us tonight. So,
yeah.
You don't like it when we run out of stories?
I'm sad.
Yeah. That's this show's always fun to do. It's just lighthearted and just, I don't know, it's just fun. Hope the listeners find it fun.
I have been told some people are enjoying it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So, but that's all we have. We encourage you to, if you've got some weird shit you want us to talk about, or if you got some dumbass criminals you want us to make fun of, I mean, whatever, feel free to reach out at info@darkdialogue.com and share that. If you have crime stories that you want us to dig into on our other 2 shows, send those to the same place. Follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on X. We're kind of all over the freaking place.
Yeah, we're just scattered about.
Feel free to support us on Patreon, on Coffee, on Substack. A lot of our stories, or a lot of our episodes that get converted to stories, which then get posted for our members and supporters on Patreon, on Coffee, and on Substack. Join the Adopted Victim Program, and you can find that information at www.darkdialogue.com. And otherwise, thank you for joining us tonight. And with you as always, it's John
and Angela.
Have a great night.
Have a great night.